Issue number 4 from DC Comics in the 2026 run of the D.C.K.O storyline opens in the immediate aftermath of the explosive events from the previous issue. And it doesn't bother easing the reader in. It throws you straight into the chaos where everything already feels like it's spiraling out of control. Like the characters barely have time to process what the fuck just happened before they're forced to react to the next crisis. And the tone is set early that this isn't going to be a clean recovery, but rather a messy, high-stakes scramble where every decision could turn to shit in seconds. The opening sequence visually emphasizes destruction and fragmentation, with the environment itself reflecting the emotional and strategic disarray of the characters, as debris, fire, and fractured landscapes mirror the broken alliances and shaken confidence among the heroes, making it clear that whatever stability existed before is now completely gone. From there, the issue splits into multiple narrative threads, each following different characters as they attempt to regroup. And this structure reinforces just how widespread the damage is, because no one seems to have a full picture of what's going on, and everyone is working with incomplete information, which leads to miscommunication and tension that builds naturally across the story. One group tries to establish a temporary command structure, but even that effort feels shaky as disagreements quickly surface, with some characters questioning leadership decisions and others openly expressing frustration, creating a dynamic where cooperation feels forced rather than genuine, and you can practically sense how close everything is to going completely to shit if they can't get their act together. Meanwhile, another thread follows a lone character dealing with the emotional fallout of their earlier choices, and their internal struggle adds depth to the narrative, showing that the consequences aren't just external, but deeply personal, as guilt and doubt start to creep in and affect their judgment in ways that could easily fuck up future decisions. As the story progresses, the antagonistic forces begin to take a more active role, and their presence looms over every scene, even when they're not directly visible, which adds a layer of tension that keeps the reader constantly on edge. It becomes increasingly clear that the chaos isn't entirely accidental, and there are hints that the villains have been orchestrating events behind the scenes, pulling strings in a way that makes the heroes' efforts feel reactive and insufficient. And when a key reveal drops about the enemy's strategy, it lands hard, because it reframes everything that's happened so far, making you realize that the heroes may have been playing right into their hands this whole time, which is a real oh fuck moment that shifts the tone from desperate to almost hopeless. The villains aren't just stronger or more prepared, they're smarter, more patient, and willing to let things fall to shit as long as it serves their long-term plan. Midway through the issue, the pacing picks up again with a series of action sequences that cut between different locations, and each one highlights a different aspect of the larger conflict, from direct confrontations to stealth operations to desperate rescue attempts. One particularly intense sequence involves a mission to extract a trapped ally, and while it starts with a sense of urgency and determination, it quickly unravels as unforeseen complications arise, forcing the characters to adapt on the fly. And despite their best efforts, the situation deteriorates into chaos, reinforcing the theme that even well-planned actions can go to shit under pressure. The emotional stakes in these scenes are just as important as the physical ones, as characters are forced to make split-second decisions that have lasting consequences. And you can see the toll it takes on them, both individually and as a team, as trust continues to erode and frustration builds to the point where it feels like one more mistake could completely fuck everything beyond repair. In the latter half of the issue, the separate narrative threads begin to converge, bringing several key characters back together in a way that feels both inevitable and fraught with tension. Because while they need each other to survive, they're also carrying the weight of their earlier conflicts and unresolved issues. This convergence leads to some of the most emotionally charged moments in the issue, as characters confront each other over past decisions, missed opportunities, and perceived betrayals. And instead of neatly resolving these conflicts, the story leans into the discomfort, showing how difficult it is to rebuild trust once it's been broken, especially in a situation where everything is already going to shit. There's a sense that they're trying to hold things together out of necessity rather than genuine reconciliation, which adds a layer of fragility to their alliance that makes every interaction feel tense and uncertain, like it could collapse at any moment if someone says the wrong thing or makes the wrong move. The climax of the issue is a carefully constructed sequence that combines action, revelation, and emotional payoff, bringing multiple storylines together in a way that feels both satisfying and deeply unsettling, as a major twist is revealed that changes the stakes moving forward. This twist doesn't just add a new layer to the conflict, it fundamentally alters the reader's understanding of what's been happening, suggesting that the situation is even more complex and dangerous than previously thought. And it's delivered in a way that feels earned, with enough foreshadowing to make it believable, but still surprising enough to hit with a strong what the fuck impact. The characters' reactions to this revelation are just as important as the twist itself, as it forces them to reevaluate their priorities and strategies, and in some cases, confront uncomfortable truths about themselves and each other, which only adds to the sense that things are spiraling further into shit rather than stabilizing. In the final pages, the issue shifts into a more reflective mode, giving the characters and the reader a brief moment to process everything that's happened. But even this quieter section is laced with tension and uncertainty, because it's clear that the conflict is far from over and that the challenges ahead are only going to get more difficult. There are hints of new alliances forming and old ones breaking down completely, as well as subtle setups for future plot developments that suggest the story is building towards something even bigger and more catastrophic. And the closing scenes do an excellent job of maintaining momentum, while also leaving enough unresolved questions to keep readers engaged. The last few panels, in particular, are striking in their use of imagery and pacing, ending the issue on a note that feels both ominous and compelling, as if everything is poised to escalate even further, and you're left with the sense that whatever comes next is going to push the characters to their limits, in ways that could either forge them into something stronger or completely fuck them up beyond recovery. Overall, issue number 4 stands out as a turning point in the 2026 D.C.K.O. storyline, not because it resolves conflicts, but because it deepens them, expanding the scope of the narrative while also tightening the emotional focus on the characters. And it succeeds in creating a sense of momentum that carries through every page, making it hard to put down despite, or maybe because of, the constant feeling that everything is on the verge of going to shit. The combination of layered storytelling, strong character work, and escalating stakes makes this issue a critical piece of the larger arc, setting the stage for future developments while also delivering a compelling and intense experience in its own right. And by the time you reach the end, you're left both satisfied and anxious, fully aware that the story is far from over and that the next chapter is probably going to raise the stakes even higher, pushing the characters into situations where the margin for error is basically non-existent. And the consequences of failure are going to be as brutal as they are inevitable, which makes the anticipation for what comes next feel almost unbearable in the best possible way.